Welcome to the Daughter Podcast, where dads come to talk, grow, and thrive. I'm your host, Oscar, and this is a space for men who are committed to becoming stronger, more mindful, and more present, especially in the lives of their daughters. In today's episode, I'm excited to introduce Cletuscoffey, a dynamic leader, former professional athlete, and a passionate advocate for personal growth. We had a great conversation in which we discussed divorce, single fatherhood, and most of all, the importance of taking ownership and leading ourselves as fathers. From his podcast, Be the Torch, to his one-on-one men's program, Cletus brings a wealth of experience in helping others unlock their full potential, and his journey is sure to motivate and empower. Get ready for an engaging conversation. Thank you all for listening and enjoy this episode. Hey, welcome back to the Daughter Podcast. Your local growing girl dad here. Today we have a special guest. Mr. Cletuscoffey is going to join us today to talk about single fathers and the things that they are going through that I could not bring you myself. And as you guys know, this podcast is made and it stands for perspectives and shortening those curves. Cletus, man, how are you? How have you been? And what have you been up to?
Oscar, man, first of all, dude, thank you for having me on. And most importantly, I love that I just organically found you just searching on YouTube. And so clearly the message is getting out there.
Awesome.
And the work that you're doing specifically towards parenting and fathers and daughters and all that, I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. And so I'm grateful that I get to be part of it and add some value.
Well, we're glad to have you. You have a wide spectrum. As I understand it, you have a 21-year-old son and then all the way down to a 8-year-old daughter. Is that correct?
That close. My oldest is 19, going into a sophomore year of college.
Okay.
I have a 16-year-old
Cool. Okay.
high schooler, and then, my 8-year-old little lady.
Man, I can't wait to get into those perspectives because you've got through the wide range of parenting, goods and bads, and now you add your daughter, and I'm sure that changes the perspective to how you parent, and I can't wait to get into that. But give us a little bit about you, a little bit about your background and what you normally do for single fathers.
Yeah, so I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm a West Coast kid, so I kept moving north and went to school in Oregon, and then now reside in Seattle.
Okay.
So I'm kind of running out of country. Canada's next.
Right, Canada up there, yeah.
Yeah, but I tell you what, man, I grew up an athlete. I was a 3-sport athlete in high school, 2-sport athlete in college. And 2 weeks after my college graduation, I was off to follow a dream. I had signed to play football in the Canadian Football League with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And here we go. I'm going to get paid to play. And this is to be a professional athlete.
Right.
Had always been a dream. I didn't really know if I cared what sport it was in. I wanted to play ball and do it for a living.
Right.
You know, being a kid growing up in the 80s and the 90s, seeing the trajectory of professional athletes and their exposure was something that I, as a young person, was like, yeah, that's me. That's what I want to do. With most professional athletes, it doesn't last very long. So my 4-year career bouncing between the Canadian Football League, I came back in the States in the late 90s, early 2000s and played in the Arena Football League. And man, it was a ton of fun, made a little bit of money, but none that once I quote unquote retired, right? Basically I ended up breaking my leg, and it was really my first injury that I'd ever really had playing football, outside of the little dings and bruises and bumps, but really like the major injury. But at, a 26-year-old going on 27, trying to find a way, with a broken leg, trying to find his way onto a team somewhere.
Yeah.
I just wasn't meant to be. So I retire, and I had met a woman, and she lived in Seattle. And so I moved to Seattle. I didn't really have much going on anywhere else. And so that brought me to where I'm at now. And I now have 3 children here in Seattle. And so I'm here. And the thing about it was what really set me on the path. Let me fast forward quickly to today, and then I'll connect the dots. Today, I run a company called Torch Training. We have various different programs, and our core program is called Be the Torch. And in the process of wanting to be of service and add value to people, I was like, look, I need to help people like me. And what that stemmed from, Oscar, is I ended up getting divorced and was a single father with a co-parent, their mother, and really trying to navigate this new world that there's no playbook for.
Right.
And all the content that I found online was about how to save your marriage, or how to get your wife back, or how to have a great marriage. There wasn't any saying like, hey, dude, it just didn't work.
Right.
And I know, and outside of how to fight with the attorneys, how to
Right.
protect your business, how to, not pay alimony, like none of that mess, but just like, how can I rebuild as a man,
Yeah.
as a father, for me as a business owner, and someone who would like to have love, a relationship that was in alignment with what I was looking for. I couldn't find that. And so with a gap there, I determined, well, why don't I be that? Why don't I help fill that gap so that I can be of service to people like me who aren't coming out of these apocalyptic events, divorce, business loss, and aren't wondering like, what the hell do I do now? So that was the process of creating that. And obviously, as you can tell, in order to get there, I had to go through my own apocalyptic events.
Right. Yeah.
And so that really stemmed from the loss of identity that I had as an athlete. Because once I was no longer an athlete, I didn't know who the heck I was.
Yeah.
And I had never done any work on trying to get clarity on who I was. And so I was just operating out of ego.
Yeah.
And, people used to call me and go, hey, can I get some tickets to the game, or saw you again, or, what's the next step? And,
Right.
and those calls weren't happening anymore.
Right.
And nor were any calls for me to get on a new team. And so I was thinking, look, I have to go be like a civilian. I gotta go get a job somewhere. It was difficult for me to get my head around that.
Yeah.
And so I was odds and ends jobs, working in sales and working in parking, and then thought I'd get this wild hair and I'd get into real estate. And I just was lost, man. Just
All over
trying
the
to.
place.
And what I was doing, Oscar, I was just chasing money.
Yeah.
I thought that if I can just chase some money and make some money, then that's going to solve all my problems.
Right.
And it wasn't the case. And the ego in me just needed to be relevant again.
Yeah.
I needed to be valued. And so I didn't know how to communicate that. I didn't know the feelings that I really had. And so I ended up doing what I thought I was supposed to do. The woman that I met in Seattle, asked her to marry me. We bought the house. We started having the kids. That's what I thought I was supposed to do. And the challenge is I wasn't in that equation. The real me,
Right.
the inauthentic me, which was hiding behind the truth, letting ego make decisions on my behalf. That's who showed up. And that wasn't fair to her. That wasn't fair to our growing family.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know any different. And so it's not that I was messed up. I just was lost. And I was a good man. I was working my butt off, but just spinning in directions that just weren't making ends meet.
Yeah.
And it all kind of came to a head. What I ended up doing was I started my first business. And in the 2009-10 recession, I was in the banking space. And so I lost everything, dude, like just wiped off the map. And we had just had our first two children. So we had a young family, and it wasn't like jobs were prevalent, especially in the banking space. And so I was just trying to piece it all together, and it put a lot of pressure on her.
Right.
And forced her to step into a role that just wasn't comfortable for her. And then forced me to step in a role that I wasn't comfortable with, was now taking care of the kids. She had easier access to go make some money.
Right.
I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know what I was even feeling. I just knew that I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I felt guilty. And my only solution was, well, let me go be an athlete again.
Right.
Well, strange, but again, that's just where I was operating from. So I got into, once you turn 35, you can compete. And I was a decathlete in college. in track and field. Once you turn 35, you can compete on the world level in masters athletics or track and field. I turned 35. I started competing. Boom. Got in, went to the world championships, won a gold medal. And I'm like, I'm back, man.
You're back.
I got it. Winning a masters world championship is fantastic. And it's a nice medal, and it doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't mean anything other than it's just like a hobby.
Right.
So that was me literally running from my problems.
There you go.
So really, ultimately, it led to my wife at the time. We're not communicating. We're not talking. Ultimately, she found someone else that she can confide in and relationship, unbeknownst to me. And so once that finally kind of came to a head, the truth finally kind of came out for both of us. That was the dissolution of our marriage. And so now here I am. I'm in my 40s at the time, and I've got 2 kids, and I'm divorced. I'm broke. I'm broken. And like, where do you go? What's the next step?
Yeah.
And that just started a path that I had to start to go inward, but it wasn't always that easy because I was pissed off.
Oh, I can imagine.
I was blaming her, and what she did was that's hers. That's what she has. But I was blaming her for all of our stuff. I was angry. I was going through all of that, and I'll show you type of mentality.
Yeah.
And again, it's not as if like it went over. I mean, there was years of lack of connection, lack of intimacy, none of that was there. And she had found it with someone else, but I still didn't have it. And so I was like, I'm going to go find that.
Yeah.
End up meeting a woman. 3 months later, we get pregnant.
Oh, man.
And so now I'm going, all right, here I am now. I am a father of 3 with 2 different women. And the woman that I end up having my daughter with, we tried it out. We tried the relationship. And ultimately, it didn't work for me. It wasn't in alignment with me. It was not something that I felt like myself in. And so I had to exit a relationship. And so it was at that point, I'm like, okay, now here I am in my mid 40s. I'm a single father of 3. I'm still trying to piece together. I got into one thing I've always done is speaking and training. So whether I was a company I was working with or on my own, I've always been some sort of level of keynote speaking training. And so I started doing that for my business and started having some nice success. And I started getting Fortune 500 speaking gigs. I'm going in training. And for me, all of it is really was on team culture, and personal culture. And so here I am. I'm starting to build that. COVID hits.
Oh, man.
All of my speaking engagements get wiped out for 2020. And then like maybe they'll get booked for 21. And so now here I go again. I'm in a similar predicament. And I found myself starting to blame and complain and justify, well, it's COVID's fault. It was the recession's fault as to what I've lost. And I'm in this position. And it was at that point where I stopped and said, there's a thread here in all of this. And it's the guy in the mirror.
Right.
And so having left that relationship I was in with my daughter's mother, I just started to focus on me. I got to get myself right because I'm doing nobody a service. I'm cheating my children. I'm cheating a future woman that I'd find because I'm not my true authentic self.
Yeah, right.
That was me in my darkest place and beginning to say, I was actually, and I'll give you a point. I'm up in Seattle and it's a dark, rainy January day. You know, I had just done the drop off with my sons where you kind of meet halfway and you do the shuffle with their mother. And I'm just thinking to myself, I don't want to go home. I don't know where I'm going to go, but I cannot go home. Like that is a version of me that is pain. It is toxic. It is just not where I want to be. And I remember the point where saying, I prayed someone can just open my door right now and come save me. And after those words came out of my mouth, I just reflected on, man, I'm expecting someone else
Right.
come save me.
Right.
It's not right. And I felt it in my body. I felt it so true. And that's where I said, hold on a second. I'm the only person that can do that.
Right.
And that began the process of the evolution of me, and thus the
Yeah.
Be the Torch program.
That's like asking someone to come run your race for you, and then you get medal.
For
Right.
sure.
There's
For sure.
there's no way to that.
Right.
That's really cool. I was also a decathlete growing up, and it was.
I knew I
I can
liked you,
tie a
Oscar.
lot of. Was that?
I knew I liked you.
Yeah. Right. No, I can tie a lot of mentality to learning in that process. Yes, I did team sports, and obviously track and field is a team sport ultimately,
Mhm.
but there's a lot put on yourself. And as you're mentioning, you could do it on that arena, but then in life you're missing that point of like it's just you. Like it's literally, it sounds so weird to say this because we talk about a lot of times in the podcast we say it's about them. It's about our daughters. It's about our families. And it is, and we work towards that. But you hit the nail on the head, man. You can't do any of that if you, if you don't have yourself right. There's no way to do that. Or there is a way, and it tends to come out negatively. If you're not taking care of yourself and doing the things that you need to do, there's no way to pour from an empty cup. It's just
Mhm.
you can't, at least not in a positive manner.
Mhm.
And I think that's where a lot of us in the community have grown to that thought process of, hey, you know what? Yes, we have a playbook that maybe was not ideal as we were growing up, but it's on us. It's on us to figure this out. You hit on such good points, man. One thing, a couple of things I wanted to ask you about that. That was a tremendous story. So one thing you really zeroed in on was ego, right?
Right.
As an athlete, as an athlete myself, I'll speak for myself. As you're going up, you're going for the win. You're always going for the win, and the win ultimately, if you extrapolate that to some psychologist somewhere, that's part of that ego that's trying to get to the end goal, right? One thing I can tell you as an athlete growing up, most of the time I focus on the win. Therefore, I hated the journey, right? Like I hated going to practice, and I hated having to be out in the sun and doing the runs and drills and the sprints and all the things. Now in my 40s, I'm like, I need to figure out the journey. The journey is really where it's at, which is how the podcast came to be. So with this word ego, you have two sons. You had them with your first wife,
Mhm.
right? Let me ask you this first. When did your first son come into the picture of your life? Were you still being an athlete? Were you now settled in Seattle and finding the jobs? Like when did he come into play?
Yeah, I was in my early 30s.
Okay.
So I was done playing. I was in Seattle, and I had just started my first business a year
Uh,
before he came.
a year before. So you're knee deep in entrepreneurship,
Yep.
which
Early stage entrepreneurship, which, for many people know is like
yeah,
trying to figure it out.
sorry about
I'll tell
that.
you, in the span of like, I would say 18, 20 months, I started a business, got married, and had my first child. Like
Holy
I just
moly, man.
knocked them all out.
Dude, you sound like you like ice baths because that's what that sounds like. You're
Uh,
going all the way in and
yeah,
feeling all the pain all at once.
all at once. Yes.
Wow. So you're done playing. Your son comes into play. I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm making an assumption. So please correct me here, right? With everything that you got going on, your mental state now, you just essentially stopped being an athlete, for lack of better terms, right? At that moment, your son comes in. I feel like I can relate a little bit, not in that aspect, but in the aspect of not being present and ready for my first child. Like I know they're going to be here. We start the planning process of my wife is pregnant, that kind of thing. But mentally, all I'm thinking is I got to go make some cash. I got to figure out how to provide because that's what I'm supposed to do, and that's where I'm going. Is that kind of your thought process at that moment?
Oh man, for sure. For sure. That was, I'm just going to go build this business and make
Yeah.
this money. And to my wife at the time, okay, you can stay home or do whatever you want, but take care of the kids.
Yeah.
And it was a house of cards because I
Yeah.
was not solid with myself first and foremost.
Right.
And also taking the fact I wasn't solid with my business.
Yeah.
And so it was the peaks and valleys. Like, we had a good month. Oh no, are we going to survive? Okay, we
Right.
can pay the bills. All right, we had a good month. Are we going to survive? It was just this constant, and we had just been married a year,
Mm.
and now we have a child, and so which goes there's a lot of peaks and valleys and sleepless nights, as everyone knows through that. So it
Absolutely.
was just I was a masochist. Yeah, I really did not do myself a whole lot of favors.
Yeah. And I bring it up because, in contrast, my wife and I were married for 8.5 years before we had a child. And even then, I mean, one of my biggest regrets, if you will, now having been a parent for 13 years, is the lack of presence, the lack of enjoyment of what they call those early years of your child, right? And I'm not, obviously I'm not assuming that that was you, but that was definitely me, where my concentration was on, yes, I have a child, yes, I have a responsibility, I must now go provide, and that was the thing, right? And so as long as I can provide, that meets my part of the equation, right? And we're good. So to your point, I'll make some money and bring home the bacon, for lack of better terms, and we should be fine. And that's something that I relatively regret now, because I didn't get the joys of what I think I took away from myself by doing that.
Hmm. And the key word there you said was presence,
Yes.
because I would it went from let me just spend some time with my kids
Right.
to okay, no, 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 let me spend quality time with them.
Yes. Absolutely.
And then I realized, well, I'm spending quality time because we're doing something fun. We're at the park,
Hmm.
but I'm at the park spending quality time thinking about an email I got to write,
For
thinking
sure.
about, okay, what, shoot, I should be in the office right now. Shouldn't be
Yeah.
here at the park. And so there was this guilt and shame on both sides. I'm with
Yeah.
my kids and I'm feeling guilty because I should be on a sales call because we really could use
Mhm.
the cash this month. And then I'm at the office going, oh man, I really should be with the kids. It was just being torn in both
Right.
different directions. And I just wasn't sold on the fact that, okay, I'm just going to go make the money and that'll take care, to your point, of the equation. Because I
Hmm.
wanted to be an evolved and present father. I wanted to do those things. I wanted to coach sports. I
Right.
wanted to have quality time where I'm present, not thinking about other things in my life. So there was a struggle there for years that I spent with that.
And I think a lot of men want that. I think we want to be present. You're physically there and you want to do that. I remember me feeling that, like, I want to be here, but my brain is like, I got to do this, this, and this. Or for me, it's like, I've got this deployment coming up. I've got this other thing, which is so sad, because now I'm thinking I'm being bothered and essentially distracted by something that is physically going to take me away, instead of just being present. And so that's something that, when we started this podcast, that was the first thing that like popped in my head. How do we help ourselves and help other men to be present? How do we do that?
Mhm,
Right? You're mentioning it. What you're saying right now is I guarantee 100% someone is going through this right now
mhm,
and wanting to be present, but they're not. They're distant because they've got 100 things going on. And to add to that, they also may be rebuilding like you were. So you've got 100 things going on. You want to be present for your kids. And oh, by the way, you've got this life to rebuild, no matter what situation is, like you were talking about. Rebuilding, um, it's a hard thing. We live down here in the South, and tornadoes are a normal occurrence. You see people building a house, and it takes them a long time. Like, we had our house built here and didn't have it for months and months, right? Because it's the process of building. And then you turn on TV and you watch a tornado literally take it apart in
mhm.
I don't know, minutes.
Mhm.
And I don't have this perspective, but I feel like if I were in your shoes, that's exactly what that would feel like. Is all those instances that you talked about feel like just little F1, F2 tornadoes come through and give you, looking on the bright side, give you an opportunity to rebuild
Mhm.
your life all over again. And that sounds tough, dude. Tough. And then you add the kids to that. Like I can't wrap my head around that.
Yeah, here's the thing that, may raise a stir within our listeners here, but in your example, I'm responsible for those tornadoes.
Mm,
That's on me. And what happens with men, especially in men who are in my position, where there
mm,
was the house that was torn down, the relationship, the business. Now I'm only seeing the kids every other week, that type of stuff. And I'm responsible. It's on me. And what happens is dudes get stuck in this victimhood.
mm.
Ah, man, that crazy, it was her
Right.
fault. And she's causing me all this. She took my money and
Yeah.
she's causing me all this pain because she's brainwashing my kids. And they live in this victimhood. And it's literally robbing them
Mm,
of not only being present with their children, but of a life that is worth living.
right.
And they are that poison in which they're living in just really stems from fear. If you can imagine three circles
Mhm.
just in a line here. And the circle in the middle, that's presence. That's a circle, say, to the left, that's the past. And the circle to the right is the future. And what happens is with this victimhood is because we are sensing a need to feel something, we look to the past for those feelings. And what we find is the pain, the suffering, the toxicity, those type of things.
Mhm.
And so we feel those things, and then it brings forth to us messages that remind us of the pain, or remind us of
Mhm.
the feeling. And oh yeah, you were screwed. And she did cheat on you and she left you for another man. And the economy took your business down and all this stuff that I used to spin in. And so we're spinning in this backward past. And here's the thing. They're all stories at that point. It's not real anymore.
Right.
The past, once it's over, it's done. And it's simply a story that I was carrying with me every step I was taking.
Right.
And then I'd say, okay, I am, that's it. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to go crush it. I'm going to go. So then I was putting feelings into the future.
Mm,
And it was sending me messages that were misaligned.
mhm.
And because I was misaligned in the present moment. And so thus I couldn't be present. Because in the past I was getting these old feelings, and in the future I was sending ego feelings that, oh, I gotta make some money. That'll solve my problems. And
Of
then what was
course.
I getting? More loss, more destruction, lost speaking gigs, can't figure it out. And all the while in the present moment, I'm subscribing to these stories that I'm telling myself that weren't real.
Mhm.
And literally, it wasn't until I stopped these, and it was a pattern. These were patterns.
Yeah.
And do these pattern interrupts. And so if you're a guy out there who has these feelings that is playing victim, you're
Mhm.
not alone. Many of us do it. The first step to solving that is awareness. So that when I say something that comes from a place of victim or a story, I catch it. Go, oh,
Right.
that's me being a victim.
Here at the Daughter Podcast, we want to continuously grow, but we also want to celebrate the wins. And one feature you'll find on our website is a shout out to the community. This was particularly cool because it's for a buddy of mine, Randy Redoni, and I am so excited to read it to you. It is from Will Thalacker. He says, I may not be a father, but I want to give a shout out to Randy Redoni. He is truly an inspiration, not only for the incredible fitness community he's built, but also for the dedication and love he shows as a single father. The way he shares his journey and the stories of his kids makes it clear they're his top priority. His authenticity, strength, and commitment are powerful witness. If I ever become a father, I can only hope to show up the way that he does. Randy, my friend, congrats for this. So glad to be able to shout you out. And thank you, Will, for taking a little time to send a shout out to a friend.
Okay. What can I do to reframe that? What's the truth behind that?
Right.
And that's what we need to get to, is we have to burn down. I got 3 pillars in my program: burn, build, and being. The first step is to burn it down.
Yep.
The lies, the stories, and the lies are what's keeping us feeling relevant. I'll give you a prime example. When I first was getting into business, I didn't have clients. I didn't have any partners. I didn't have anything. But I was so accustomed to walking into the door and people coming to me and go, "Oh, you're an athlete. Oh, you did." And I'd walk in and people weren't doing that because I was a nobody just in this new business. But when I would go to a networking event and have a conversation, I was so fearful to tell them that I was broke and I had any clients, any partners, and I'd make shit up.
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, I'm working on this cool deal right now, and I'm just trying to figure it out." But it was almost as if the person was going, "Oh, he doesn't need any clients. He's good."
Yeah.
And I was completely blind to it.
Right.
Yet I'm still responsible for it,
Yeah.
even though I was blinded to it. And so no wonder why I wasn't getting any business. I was operating from this place of ego for fear of looking weak, unprepared, that I wasn't a good businessman. Gosh, and it'll take us another hour to talk about, after I lost the business, all the stuff I did to try to make myself not look like I failed. I didn't know how to understand that as an athlete, we either won or we learned.
Right.
That's not how you and I were taught.
Right.
We won or we failed.
Yep.
And so we became addicted to the scoreboard, and the scoreboard being all those measurable things that makes us human.
Right.
Our money, our cars, all of that. And prime example, what's the first question we as athletes, let's say one of our parents or friends didn't go to our game or track meet. What's the first question they ask us when we walk in the door?
How'd you do?
Scoreboard.
Yep.
Or
right away.
In scoreboard. So what happens is those people that we trusted, the first thing that they would ask us is something that we could not control.
Yeah.
Can't control the scoreboard. And so now it's perpetual into adulthood, because now here we are, we're in Louisiana, we're having a nice backyard summer barbecue, and the neighbor comes over and says, "Oscar, the Joneses down the street, they're really successful." What are they referring to? Money.
Yep.
Their sweet IG pics of their vacation, the Teslas in the driveway, scoreboard.
The highlight reel. Yep.
The highlight, man. And so what happens is we identify with the scoreboard. We put our self-worth up on the scoreboard. And when the scoreboard doesn't go in our favor, which it does a lot, we think we failed. We think we're not good enough. We think we're weak. And that's what I believed for so long. Yeah. And so I had to lie to make sure that the scoreboard was always looking good, even though when it wasn't.
Well, and how many times as a kid athlete too, where it's like, well, the ref did this and the ref didn't call this other thing, and the ref, like, there's always some excuse, right?
Victim. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Blaming, complaining, and justifying.
And those same people that love us were also part of that. Sometimes, oh, well, they didn't call this call, or they didn't do this thing. And it's so easy. And, being a parent, I have to catch myself, because there's times where you're trying to make them feel better, but it's ultimately, like you said, it's a lie. You don't want to create a sensation of victim, right? Because you cannot control everything, and the only you control is you and your actions, and that's about it. And so from very little, we are getting this, especially as athletes. I got chills when you said this. Like, what are the first thing they ask you? They don't say, "Hey, how do you feel?" They don't say, they say, how did you do? Did you guys
Mhm.
win? How many goals did you score? How many touchdowns did you make? Right? Those little things I think never thought of before that kind of climb on, and then you feel like that failure when you don't have those answers.
Totally. And for your listeners, for your parents, the dads out there, here's a better question to ask them when your youngsters come in the door.
Yeah.
Hey, where'd you get better today?
Yeah.
What that does is it has them focus on their effort, not their outcomes.
Yep.
So the score is going to come out eventually. You're going
Right.
to get it. But if you can ask them about something they can control, because they may have lost the game, but they may be thinking, oh yeah, where did I get better today? Because I'm willing to bet maybe they cheered better for their teammates today.
Right.
Maybe they remembered their cleats today. It can be small things, or yeah, I really got better at my spacing, or my hands, or where did you get better today?
Mm.
Is a more thought-provoking question than go to the scoreboard.
That's a great point. And one thing I did want to come back to, you mentioned the things we tell ourselves, right? I wanted to point out that something that I've been really, really working on, specifically with my daughters, definitely with my wife, because we've been married for 23 years. I think I'm getting better at it, I hope. But one thing I'm really working on is the language that comes out of my mouth, right? Because when it comes to victimhood, it's real easy to use language. You don't want to be a victim, but it's real easy to use language that makes you feel that way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Prime example, you made me mad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've gotten real thoughtful on and mindful on, where now I try to explain to my daughters, hey, you don't do anything to me other than give me, like, I feel love for you. Right? You can't make me mad. That's my own emotion. That's me. And so now when I do get upset or I get frustrated, I say, I'm frustrated rather than you've made me frustrated or you did this to me. And it's something that, I mean, I can tell you from growing up, that's things that I heard. Like, because of this, you made me mad or you did this. And I don't think it's malicious. I just think it's language that ultimately creates that victim mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now a victim of whatever you did. But in reality, especially with our kids, that's kind of impossible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that programming sticks with us
Yes.
unless us as fathers can recognize that program, which you have,
Right.
and being able to reframe it into it's on me.
It's
This is
all
what
on
I'm
me.
feeling.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I got to ask you though, you had your two sons, you have an 8-year-old daughter. It's, in my experience, that's the super fun age. Talk to me a little bit about where were you mentally when you had your daughter compared to when you had maybe your first son and then your second?
Boy, very different stages.
Okay.
And having my son, my first child, it was a bit quick, yet it was excitement. And once I learned it was a son, I was so ecstatic.
Yeah.
I grew up in a single family household. My mother and I was the oldest of 5 kids. All the rest were girls underneath me. So a
Oh,
very
wow.
female heavy house.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the fact that I would have a son, I'm like, yes, I
Right.
get to bring the masculine into this world. I was really
Right.
excited, about that. However, I was not knowing it at the time, but I was on really shaky ground.
Mm.
And then my second son was born on very shaky ground because now it was being exposed, meaning, we had just lost the business and financially we were not in a place to bring in another child. And
Hmm.
it really was shaky. And then, bringing my daughter into the world was a bit unexpected. And unfortunately, her mother and I weren't really in a strong, powerful union.
Hmm.
And so I was just in various different phases, but really was not solid myself. And I felt a lot of shame for a lot of years because of that.
Hmm.
And what I've been working on is saying, hey, look, I get to step in to be that man now. That solid dude, that guy that is coming from a place of power for myself and
Hmm.
love and truth. and be able to give that to my kids, and especially my daughter. And my daughter and I are, it's a super fun age, but it's a scenario where I get to see her once during the week and every other weekend.
Mm.
And although both women that I co-parent with, I am so grateful. We are very amicable. We work together, and that has been extremely helpful. I know a lot of men don't have that experience, so I know it was a lot of hard work. It was not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
There were a lot of thorns in there, but we were been able to come to a place so much so. Actually, we just celebrated 4th of July, and everybody was together,
Oh,
which
wow.
was really,
Congratulations. That's
really cool.
awesome.
And it says a lot about those two women who've been able to put their egos aside or what have you, and have been able to come together and kind of
Yeah.
celebrate these children who are
Yeah.
siblings.
Yeah.
So, yet with my daughter, it's well, I know you have 3 daughters, but it's different than having boys.
Yeah.
I've had to learn and grow, because I got the boy game down, and then it
Right.
was like, ooh, this is a whole different element.
Yeah.
I can't come with the same energy or maybe the same intensity with the boys. I have to just soften, and I have to be that man that she needs to see
Right.
for her future.
Right.
I honor that tremendously, and I want to continue to grow and evolve and better myself so I can be that man.
Yeah. That's such a great point that you brought up is that softening that
Mm.
that girls tend to do to us knuckle draggers. For me, I don't have any boys, right? But I grew up with brothers. I have a younger sister as well, but had a lot of male cousins. And when I learned that I was having a girl, that mentality that you just said, I was like, I thought I could do a boy because I'm a boy, but
Mhm.
I don't know if I can do this girl thing. And it's taking a lot of learning in unintended teaching by my oldest. And I say unintended because she didn't choose that life, right? But she's taught me essentially how to be a dad. And so I constantly tell her, like, you and I have this relationship that I don't have with your siblings because you're still at this very moment teaching me the next step. What is the next step? And that's something that has become very true in my life is the learning that I can do from her, but also the softening that I needed to be better as the next one came and the next one came. And hopefully for her too, my oldest. But I think she tends to get the raw end of the stick.
Of course. Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you found us looking for fathers of daughters, and hopefully you can stick with our community as well and grow along with us. And then, man, what you're bringing to the table is so huge. Because one question I wanted to ask you, with all of your life experience now and where you're at in this moment, and I know we're going to get into Be the Torch, which I'm really curious to hear about. But what I do want to ask you is, you mentioned ego, mentioned rebuild, you mentioned failure. In an athlete's eyes, all those things really interconnect. If you take everything away and you put them in an athlete's path, they all interconnect very, very closely. Ego, failure, success, the rebuild, right? You get an injury, now you're rebuilding, you're trying to get back to where you need to be. How much, you've already mentioned how much everything lies on you, right? And the fact that you and your family, extended family, co-parents, I should say, could get together on the 4th of July and come together for the kids, right? That takes a lot of work. And that takes a lot of subduing of any ego, and realizing that there's a greater purpose than yourself or them or the problem that may have arisen at any point in life. So, two questions in with that. One, for the men who just started a relationship with their girlfriends, with their fiancés, right? Looking into marriage and potential children. Maybe they already have a child. What would you say to them to help them maneuver through hopefully a successful relationship? And then secondly, what would you say to the man who is struggling in a relationship or already in a, tornado torn relationship? What are those two different aspects that you would
Mhm.
bring into the table?
Yeah. Oscar, it really comes down to we need to lead as men, as masculine men. We need to lead. The women in our lives, our children are looking to us to lead. However, we can't lead anybody else if we can't lead ourselves first.
Mm.
And so for that man who's in a new relationship, growing a newish relationship and a family,
Mm.
it's time for you to lead yourself first. You will be a better man, a better partner, a better father for those individuals when your wants are satisfied. When you have taken care of yourself, because man, I see it every single day. These guys that are burned out, exhausted, in a position of like, I'm not even happy. And it says,
Right.
okay, where's your time and energy and focus? It's going to my wife. It's going to my kids. It's going my business, my career, my employees, my clients. Cool. Where are you in that? Oh, I go golfing on Sundays. No, that's not what we're talking about. No.
Right.
This is every single day, structured discipline. And you know this more than anyone coming from your background, having that discipline to invest in yourself every single day. Because what it does is it allows you to get to the truth of who you are. And when you show up in truth as to this is who I am, a couple of things are going to happen. The people in your world are either going to meet you there, and now you have a woman in your life who's showing up at her truth. And she got the invitation from you. You can't wait for her to figure it out. You have to lead, show up in truth. And once she sees that, your energy, she feels you and invites her to do the same. Now you got a union that is unfreaking stoppable. Right. Or, and this could be not just your intimate relationship, it could be in friends and so forth, or you show up in your truth and it's going to trigger the other person. And because what's happening is if you stand in your truth, you stand in what's real, honest, authenticity, it's going to reflect back to your partner or someone else where they're not being authentic, where they're not showing up in truth. And now they have a choice to make. Either I'm going to meet them there, or it's going to cause me to spin and I'm going to get angry and I'm going to get, so forth. So for those, and that leads me to the second one. So for those people that are in that challenged relationship, there's a good chance that you're not leading. You're not showing up, and she's feeling it. She's feeling your inauthenticity. She can't put words to it yet, or maybe she has, and she's telling it to you, but you can't put words to it because you haven't got that down that path. And so you need to step up and lead from truth and authenticity as to who you are. And what's going to happen is she's either going to see that and come close to you because you're leading as a masculine man, or it's truly going to trigger her and it wasn't meant to be. That's not the person that can meet you, because like me, I showed up in a relationship inauthentically. And not that, I want to clarify, it's not that I was cheating and lying and doing drugs. I just wasn't being honest with myself. Yeah. And I couldn't say to her, I'm feeling weak right now. I'm feeling lost. I need help. Man, I wish I had asked, told her I need help.
Yeah, right.
I didn't know how to do that. And so we have to lead, and we have to lead ourselves and show up authentically in truth, who we are. If we're feeling hurt, weak, sad, angry, like we just have to tap those feelings and express them. That's what our woman wants, because she can meet us there. Right. She can't meet you in a place where you're trying to be ego is behind it. You're trying to be strong, trying to look strong. Man, once I learned how to just even approach women for the first time in the dating world from a place of vulnerability, life-changing for me. Life-changing. versus, hey man, my cool car, here's my nice business,
Yeah, right.
let me buy you something. No, I was just showing up authentically, vulnerably, and women were able to meet me there.
Of course.
Lead, brother, lead.
Man, I love that. Everything is on us, and you can't solve a problem you don't own. It's just not the way it works. I love that.
Now, let me put one more caveat. I'm in a relationship with two women as co-parents.
Right.
And like I mentioned, they were rocky at times. And I kept saying, I just wish she would see my side of things. I just wish
Right.
she
Of
would
course.
understand what my vision is for our sons. She just needs to get it figured out. I did that for years. And then I stopped. And I just started showing up in truth.
Mm.
And wouldn't you know it? All of a sudden, the water started smoothing out. And
Right.
I had to, even in that relationship, I had to lead by focusing on me first. Stop playing
Right.
victim, own it. And she felt it, and she started to connect with me and met me there where we could collaborate peacefully in the sake of our
Yeah.
children.
That's great, man. And that's leading us right to where I want to go. You're talking about leading with the torch, right?
Mhm.
What are you doing now to expand that to groups of men that need this information?
Yeah. So what I found just through my own experience is in order to heal, I was looking for things outside of myself. And like I said, if I can just make some money, if I just had enough money and a nice business, well, then I'll find the woman of my dreams.
Of
Or if
course.
I, a six pack abs, then I would attract a woman. Or just if I had the right woman, then I could focus on building a business. It was just like I was looking for things outside of myself. So I learned the concept of human being, and the human exists in the 3-dimension world that we're in. And what makes us human is our careers and our businesses and our cars and our vacations. Like all those things live on the human plane. And the problem is we identify with that.
Mm.
When in fact, you and I are actually just beings having a human experience.
Right.
And once I got in alignment with, dude, if someone were to cut me open, where am I? I'm flesh and bones and ligaments, and I'm not in there.
Right.
I'm this being. And once I got clarity on, oh, yes, I'm being, I need to be it first. So if I want a successful business, I need to be the man capable of having a successful business. If I wanted to find a partner who was
Mhm.
loving and communicative and wanted to have sex all the time and was beautiful, I needed to love me first before someone else could love me. If I want to be
Right.
the father, the man capable of building character and values and principles in my children, I sure as hell better have that first.
Right. Absolutely.
So it was a whole idea that I need to be it first. In the darkness that I'm in, or the darkness that any one of you are in, you can't wait for someone else's light to come save you.
Right.
You have to light your own torch. And the fact is, we all have a fire in us. It's either misaligned or it's diminished
Right.
because of the shame and the guilt that a lot of us carry. The pressure to produce, perform, provide just wears us down. We need to become it first. So I started be the torch. So you got to be the light for yourself. And I tell you, man, it's like moth to a flame. Once you become it, the opportunities start to flow your way. The relationship starts to flow your way, or a new relationship. The kids start responding to you differently. The money starts to come in. It's like it was life-changing once I learned to become it first. So that's what I do with men. And I primarily work with men who've gone through some level of apocalyptic event in their life, a divorce. They're now, co-parenting. They're usually generally entrepreneur-minded type individuals, and are like, look, I want to build a business. I want to be a present father, and I want to take
Mhm.
care of myself. And so I have a program where we bring men in. We create this brotherhood of guys that have been through, that can relate with one
Mm.
another. And because that's the challenge I had. I was going in groups where it's like, hey, we're talking about saving thriving in a marriage. I'm saying, well, I couldn't even save it. So who's like me out there?
Right.
So I built the program, the Brotherhood. We get together virtually weekly. And then we also incorporate live events. We got to get together. We got to hug each other. We got to support each other. It's highly accountable. This is not about just information and hopefully it works. No, we are holding you accountable, trying it on. An opportunity for men to find other like-minded guys and work through it together. So we work at 5 key areas: focus, which is essentially your emotional intelligence, family, fitness, fortune, and foundation. 5 key pillars of Be the Torch. And I'll end with this, Oscar. Most of us, and I use my rubber band as an example. Those of you who are on podcasts, I have a rubber band in my hand. I'm stretching it. What happens is we're all trying to skyrocket in our careers and our business and our money. The problem is all the other elements, our relationship, our kids, our connection to a higher being, our bodies are anchoring us, are holding us back. We can't even get to where we want to be. And ultimately what happens is there's a snapback. Boom. The rubber band snaps back because the anchors are too strong. And that those snapbacks are a divorce, they're a health scare, they're challenges with your children. Those things snap back. And so what I encourage men to do is now, for those of you on the podcast, I wrap the rubber band around my 5 fingers, and those 5 pillars, we want to expand at the same time. Give them our time, our attention, and lead ourselves first. Let's Be the Torch.
And where can we find the information to get to the program?
Yeah, simply if you go to thecletuscoffey.com, that's a great place to get started. I've got a free resource for your listeners as well, because in those 5 areas where I have found most success is investing in myself early every single day. Before I give to my kids, before I give to a partner, to my clients, to my customers, I need to give to me first. And so if you go to cletuscoffey.com/morning, it's my Master Your Morning program based on those 5 pillars, ways that you can invest in yourself. There's a whole training that comes with it so that they can, a lot of men who haven't been given discipline. I know you've been in a very disciplined world for quite some time. A lot of men really don't have that other than get up, take a shower, grab my cup of coffee, and get out the door.
Get out the door, right?
Let's focus on you first. cletuscoffey.com/morning.
And are you on social media?
Yes, absolutely. I'm at Cletus Coffee on all social channels.
Well, I will make sure to put all those links. I can't wait to put the link for the morning routine into the show notes. So for you guys, make sure you scroll down to the show notes. You'll be able to find his handle on Instagram, the website for the program, as well as for the morning routine. Cletus, man, I really enjoyed this. I've been taking notes because I know your focus primarily is with men who have had these catastrophic points in their lives. But man, it is so refreshing to be able to talk to you and really realize that as a parent, as a father, it's all on us. And it all comes down to us. And as long as we are, as you mentioned, getting better every day personally, then we're going to make our families better. We're going to make our children, our daughters better, and hopefully even the people around us better. So I cannot thank you enough for spending time with the Daughter Podcast and our community and giving us some of that wisdom. Man.
Awesome. Oscar, thank you again so much for bringing me on and for the Daughter Podcast, for the opportunity to share my story and my message, and grateful for your community.
And it was a great one. Thank you. We'll see you guys all on the next one. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want more of the Daughter Podcast, please go to www.daughterpodcast.com. There, you'll be able to find the podcast in all the platforms. You'll also be able to chat with us, send us your thoughts, and shout out a dad that is killing it and someone we can learn from, share their story and why they deserve recognition. And I would love to shout them out during the show in one of our episodes as the season goes on. Additionally, you will be able to find all of our social media information from our Instagram, Facebook, and also our YouTube, and any other news on this site. Thank you all for your constant support and for listening and watching the Daughter Podcast.